Hi, it's me again, Cody. Last time, I told you about how I found out that my math teacher who I had a crush on also had a crush on me. She forced her way into being my tutor by failing me on purpose, and I was both excited for and dreading spending one-on-one sessions with her. She even hinted at tutoring me over summer break. Today, I'm going to tell you how she ended up adopting me. But before anything else, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell icon to show your support for me. A lot has happened since the first time Miss Stacy began tutoring me at our house. That year, my parents went on a business trip that they never returned from. The plane they were on just disappeared from the face of the earth. And since I had no other relatives that I knew of, I had nowhere else to go. They did leave me the house and everything else in their will. But since I wasn't 21 yet, the laws where I live dictated that I was to be put into a foster home. I wasn't going to let that happen. And so, despite my best judgment, when Miss Stacy offered to adopt me, I said yes. I know. First of all, it was already weird that my math teacher had a crush on me. She was always weird around me, and surprisingly forward. It was creepy, almost. And now, she wanted to adopt me? She was only 22, and I had just turned 18, but man, was spending time with her weird. Wouldn't it be infinitely weirder to have a mom who has a crush on you? And for that mom to also be your math teacher? Oh, my head spun when I first heard her suggest it. But what choice did I have? I didn't know anything else. I was certainly not a lawyer, so I didn't even know what else I could do in that situation. Add to that, my head was still all sorts of screwed up from grieving for my mom and dad. The day the adoption papers came in, Miss Stacy came to my house. She hugged me tight as soon as I opened the door, and I stumbled backwards from her weight. Miss Stacy kissed me over and over on the cheeks as she exclaimed in pure joy, "It's done! Oh, Cody, it worked! You're mine now! You're my son now!" I just stood there, speechless. It was as if I didn't register any of the words she was saying. But I managed a weak smile as I tried to say, "Yay!" I questioned my decision to go along with her plan. Should I have just allowed the agency to place me into a foster home? On one hand, she was certifiably nuts and had a massive crush on me. On the other, she had a massive crush on me, and I had a massive crush on her. Is it crazy to still have a crush on someone even after they adopt you? Yeah, probably. But I wasn't about to let that diminish the fact that I somehow avoided being put into a foster care and forced to live with a bunch of strangers who may well turn out to be worse than Miss Stacy. At least I knew she wouldn't hurt me or try to take the things my parents left me. So, as soon as Miss Stacy took me to our new home, I decided to make the best of it. At first, I wanted to stay at my parents' old place, but I soon discovered that it was still painful seeing everything there and being reminded of them all the time. So, to get away from it all, and to run away from my problems, I opted to stay with Miss Stacy. I still didn't call her Mom, though. I guess that was still a step too far for me. She gave me my own room and bought me a bunch of new clothes. She even got the same posters I used to have in my old room. She put a TV in my room and showed me the computer she bought me as a welcome present. She was being amazing, and my mental state at the time wasn't the best. So, I guess I wasn't as appreciative as I should have been towards someone who just wanted me to feel at home. All I said to her was, "You didn't really have to go to all this trouble." After which, I immediately closed the door and pretended to be asleep. Pretty soon, the entire school knew what happened to me. My closest friends were very supportive. They always checked on how I was doing. But even they looked at me differently then. They always looked sad when they talked to me, as if they pitied me or something. And I hated it. Being a teen at the time, all I could feel inside me was this deep anger, even when somebody was just trying to be nice. Back then, all I could think was how they must be judging me for getting adopted by a teacher, even when that wasn't at all what they were concerned about. I guess I was just feeling vulnerable. And embarrassed. I'll admit it, I was embarrassed to be seen with Miss Stacy. Everybody knew we had a crush on each other, and she had never been shy about showing it. Now that everyone knew she adopted me, I couldn't help but imagine what people must be thinking when they stared at me. It didn't help that she always insisted on taking me to school and driving home together. Sometimes, she'd even interrupt my other classes just to check in on me or bring me something I forgot at home. Once, she barged into my PE class just to hand me the lunch she'd packed for me. It was then that I lost it. Holy freaking crap, okay? Just give me a rest already! I screamed at her in front of everyone. You're not my mom! Just leave me alone, will you? A hush settled in the classroom, and I heard my classmates muttering under their breaths. I guess everyone was shocked to see that I could get mad. Mr. Mitchell was so dumbfounded that he couldn't even find the words to say, principal's office. I guess even the faculty were confused as to whether they should treat Miss Stacy as my math teacher or as my adopted mother. I personally just didn't care anymore. I had enough of Miss Stacy's clinginess, and all I could think of at the time was how much I wished I'd said yes to going to foster care. I walked out of Mr. Mitchell's class and headed for the track field. As I sat down under the bleachers to cool off, I looked down at my hand. I was still clutching the lunch that Miss Stacy handed me. Oh, I was starving, as I'd neglected breakfast that day. My stomach let me know about it. I tore open the container's lid, and what I saw inside made me feel guilty instantly. It was as if Miss Stacy had known me all my life, enough for her to know exactly what I needed at that moment. She had cooked me my favorite meal, just the way my mom used to make it. She even included a bunch of vegetables shaped into cute shapes, like they do in Japan. And in the bag, she'd left me a note. It read, "Hope this can at least bring a smile to your face. I tried my best, but I know it'll never be as good as your mom's cooking. I just want you to be okay. Love, Stacy." That was when I realized how much of a douche I was being to her, and to everyone else around me. I was depressed and I was taking it out on other people. And worst of all, I was taking it out on the one person who truly cared enough to actually be there for me. I rushed back and looked for her all over school. When I asked for her in the faculty room, the teachers told me she had hurried off in tears. My heart was pounding so hard, both from all the running and the knowledge that I'd made Miss Stacy cry. I ran as fast as I could until I got home. I burst through the door so violently it rebounded off the wall and hit me in the face. I scratched my smarting forehead as I searched the house for her. Miss Stacy! Miss Stacy! I called out. I'm sorry! When she appeared at the top of the stairs, I felt such relief that I bounded up the stairs and hugged her. Her eyes were still wet, and her cheeks were red. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I kept repeating to her. I thought she would cry again. I thought she would at least be mad at me for yelling at her or embarrassing her. But instead, she just kissed me on the forehead and said, I can't imagine what you must be going through. Don't worry about it. I'm always here for you. That night, I promised to always appreciate everything Miss Stacy did for me. That was when I started having dinner with her at the table, instead of just waiting for her to bring up food for me in my room, like I did when I first moved in. I washed the dishes after we ate, and we sat on the couch, staying up all night and telling each other stories about our parents, and how we missed them. I found out why Miss Stacy decided to adopt me. It is because she went through a similar experience. And when she did, nobody was there for her. I found out that despite her goofy personality and how weird she was around me, she was really just someone who cared. Deeply. And she really did try to make me feel at home. When I took the time to notice, I realized that the clothes she bought for me were from the places I liked to shop. The bookcase in my room had books in it that talked about loss and how to deal with it. When I racked my brain, I remembered that whenever she'd bring up dinner for me, or when she'd hand me my packed lunch, there would always be a little note that said, I'm here if you need to talk. Even though she was only a few years older, she still did her best to look after me the way she knew how. And she's been the best adopted mom anyone could ever ask for. But you know what? Sometimes I still think of Miss Stacy as my math teacher who I had a crush on. And I don't know. Part of me still questions why she never married. I still, to this day, find it weird that I'm living with someone only a few years older who's legally my parent. It's almost unbearable that I still have a crush on her. Does she still have a crush on me? I sometimes wonder. Whenever Miss Stacy kisses me on the cheek, my head still sounds alarm bells and tells me not to fall for her. And my emotions still riot whenever she would do something sweet for me. Because wouldn't that just be all sorts of messed up if I fell for the woman who adopted me? But still, to this day, I find myself wondering sometimes, what would happen if I kissed her?